You are looking at the skip-o-meter here this afternoon at the vet. Skip Terry telling us it's 114 degrees down on the field, so it's going to be a hot one on this artificial surface. Here's the Mylana starting lineup for the Atlanta Braves this afternoon. Blauser, Tucker, and Chipper Jones at the top here in the first inning. Fred McGriff, the cleanup hitter. Then Klesko, Andrew Jones, and Eddie Perez. Mark Lemke back in the lineup to play second base, and the pitcher will be Greg Maddux batting ninth. For the Phillies defensively, same outfield as last night. Jeffries, Otero, and Dalton from left to right. And in fact, the infield the same with the exception of Rico Brogna, who's back out there at first base. Mark Parrott, a veteran catcher, will give Mike Lieberthal the afternoon off. Boy, he picked a good day to catch, didn't he? And he'll be catching a good-looking young right-hander, Garrett Stevenson, 25 years old, 6'5", 203, originally from Maryland, but lives now in Kimberly, Idaho. Came to the Phillies from Baltimore. He was part of the deal that sent Pete Incavilla and Todd Zeile to Baltimore last year when the Orioles were making a run at the American League East pennant. Stevenson's numbers very good this year, but he's coming off the disabled list. He injured his left knee after his last start on the 4th of June, so he'll be testing that this afternoon. Umpires for today's game: the veteran Joe West, the crew chief will be behind the plate. Larry Vanover's at first base, Paul Nart at second, and Bruce Druckmann at third. Stay cool today, Pete. It is a hot one.
Yes, it is, and we're all set to go. Jeff Blauser has a 4-game hitting streak, leading it off again, taking low and outside ball one. Blauser has been hitting the leadoff spot with Kenny Lofton out of the lineup. Lofton may be a day or two away still from getting back in there, but Javi Lopez should be back tomorrow, so the Braves getting healthier. The pitch outside to Blauser, and the count 2-0. Stevenson 2-2, a 2.18 earned run average, struck out 12 in his first major league start against the Cardinals. First pitcher since J.R. Richard back in 1971 to have that many strikeouts in his major league debut. Throws about 87, 88 on the fastball. He has a big curveball and a good changeup. There's the changeup, 2-2.
When you're that tall and you have that long of an arm motion on it, it is very deceiving.
Now the 2-2 pitch on the way to Blauser, and he fouls it straight back. Still 2 balls, 2 strikes. Hard to believe it's been 18 years. 1979, the last time that a Braves team swept a 3-game series from the Philadelphia Phillies here in Veterans Stadium. They've done it in Atlanta more recently. Down and strikes Blauser, 1 gone. And it's even harder to believe when you think about that 1979 season, the team that the Phillies had then with Mike Schmidt and Greg Luzinski and Gary Maddox and all the rest, and the team the Braves had then. It was the last place ball club. But they gave the Phillies fits during those years when the Phillies were winning their division year in, year out. Here's Michael Tucker trying to extend a 9-game hitting streak. 306 now for the year. Got back in the lineup last night. He was out for a few days with a rib cage muscle pull. Takes ball 1 inside.
On that same subject, Pete, Fred McGriff was talking before the ball game about ball clubs who are struggling. They always enjoy seeing the first place team come into town because they do get up for it. Sometimes it's harder to get mentally prepared to play if you're playing someone with about the same record you have.
1-1 the count on Tucker. There's Terry Francona, first-year manager of the Phillies. I rode up in the elevator today with Lee Thomas, the general manager, and he said, you know, when you go through a season like this, he said, you have to keep telling yourself over and over and over again to stick with your plan. He said, we know it's going to be probably a long season this year, but we're trying to get young players in place. And he said, you can't panic. Got to stick with your plan. It's going to take 2 or 3 years, he feels, to get this team back to contention. But he feels it can be done. Low and inside. Full count, 3-2. And he points to the Atlanta Braves as a good example of being patient. And the 4 or 5 years it took the Braves to build up their farm system before becoming a first-place team. 2 strikeouts in a row for Garrett Stevenson to start the game, and that'll bring up Chipper Jones.
1 on a changeup, 1 on a fastball, and a good one that had some movement on it. This guy was 3-1 in AAA before he was called up. That's a good record, but his ERA was almost 6.
2 down. Chipper Jones, the hitter, batting .285, 9 homers, now with 50 runs driven in. Takes the breaking ball inside. 1 ball, no strikes.
Left-handers are struggling against him too. They're only hitting .125 against him coming in, so that changeup very effective to them.
Almost the same as Tom Glavine's changeup to right-handers. 1 ball, 1 strike. Here's the 1-1 on the way. There's the breaking ball, hit foul off to the right, up into the crowd. A ball and 2 strikes. Crowd looks like it's going to be down a little from what we had last night. Still going to be around 20,000 or so on a very warm afternoon. Supposed to get up to 95 here today in Philadelphia. Here's the 1-2 into right center field. That is going to drop for a base hit. And Chipper Jones aboard with a 2-out single here in the top half of the first inning. And that'll bring up Fred McGriff.
In the last 3 years, Pete, the Braves have seen a lot of the young pitchers of the Phillies. And the first time around, Braves didn't fare so well. They've lost 4 of those 5 encounters. The only one they beat was Rich Hunter, and of course today facing Garrett Stevenson for the first time. And you assume it'll be more of the same. A tough workout for Atlanta.
McGriff at .269 for the year. He has 9 home runs, 40 RBIs. Chipper Jones at first, 2 outs. Fouls back the first one, 0-1. Mark Parent behind the plate, very good at throwing out base runners. He's thrown out 41% of attempted base stealers this year, so you're going to have to get a good jump. He's always had a good arm. Chipper has 9 steals and 9 tries this year. And a string of 21 consecutive stolen bases dating back to last year.
That throw over to first, obvious that they want to keep him close to first, but the less time you keep your defense on the field today, the better.
Here's the 0-1. It's fouled back. 0-2 now on Fred McGriff.
Heads up in the dugout.
Two men gone. Chipper Jones, the runner at first. And the 0-2 on the way to McGriff misses low. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
The plastic soles on your spikes on this AstroTurf on a hot day like this just become like conveyors of the heat. They heat up so fast on that plastic surface. Feet actually start burning if you don't move around a little bit.
Again to first. Again Chipper Jones back.
Those steel spikes don't help any either.
And Bobby Cox, talking about that before the game, said that sometimes with those steel spikes you have to put your feet in ice between innings just to keep your feet from burning. McGriff thrown out by the shortstop Kevin Stalker, and that'll do it for the Braves in the top half of the first inning. Phillies coming up.
To the bottom of the first we go, and here's the Phillies starting lineup today. Otero, Morandini, and Dalton the first 3. Scott Rowland moves into the cleanup spot. Rico Brogna back in the lineup. Greg Jeffrey stays in the 6th spot. Mark Parent gets the start behind the plate. Then Stalker and Stevenson. The Braves defensively. The only change is Mark Lemke moves in to play second base today, and Greg Maddux on the mound.
And Ricky Otero to lead things off takes a strike from Maddux. 0-1. Otero 175 in the air with an RBI. Line left center field. Andrew Jones and Ryan Plesko converging. It's off Plesko's glove. Otero's going to try for second. He's going to go in standing. So Ricky Otero, whose bat is heating up. He had hits his last 3 at bats in the game last night. Credited with a double here.
Last night he picked on some high pitches. Maddux gave him a gift there. Second pitch of the ball game, Ryan mistimed his jump a little bit. That could easily have been a base hit and an error.
Now Mickey Morandini batting .297. He's driven in 11 runs, no homers, 3 out of 9 in the series. Gets a bunt down. Maddux will field, looks toward third. No play there, on to first in time. So the Phillies playing for an early run here. It'll be a sacrifice for Morandini, a runner at third now with 1 out.
I like that. Ball club's struggling. Get yourself a run early. Let your hitters relax a little bit. And then know you at least have one run to play with against Greg Maddux. Good job by Morandini.
And one of their big RBI men, Darren Dalton, at the plate. 292, 8 homers, 30 RBIs. Maddux 19-10 lifetime against the Phillies. He has beaten the Phillies and the Mets 19 times each. Those are the two teams he has won the most games against in his career. Infield in for Atlanta. Dalton lines one, left center field. Klesko had him shaded there, almost came in too far, had to reach for that ball. Otero will tag and score, and the Phillies take a 1-0 lead. Dalton drives in his 31st run of the year. We're seeing more and more teams, Joe. They're jumping on the first pitch from Greg Maddux. Apparently the scouting reports are getting around, and we're getting around that teams that are having any success at all against Maddux are doing it on the first pitch.
And I think Greg's going to have to make some adjustments on what he throws the first pitch. Not that he doesn't have to throw a strike, but maybe go to something off speed.
Here's third baseman Scott Rowland, 280 with 7 home runs. Takes ball one. Lines this one to center field. Andrew Jones almost misjudged it, but then recovered, makes the catch, and that's out number 3. So a very quick inning for the Philadelphia Phillies and a very quick 1-0 lead as we head to the second. One nothing Phillies. We go to the top of the second. Ryan Klesko leading it off. He's hitting .236 with 12 homers, 36 runs driven in. 1 ball, no strikes. He'll be followed by Andrew Jones and then Eddie Perez. Ground ball toward Bronya. Stevenson covers, 1 down.
Fans, this telecast is authorized under broadcasting rights granted by the Atlanta National League Baseball Club. It's intended solely for the entertainment of our audience. Any publication, rebroadcast, retransmission of the pictures or descriptions of this game without the express written consent of the Atlanta National League Baseball Club is prohibited.
Now Andrew Jones, 279, 5 homers, one of which they were still talking about today at the ballpark. Upper deck, left center field last night. Only the 7th player to hit one in the center field area in the upper deck in the history of the stadium. 1 ball, 1 strike, and the list of the other 6. Pretty good names on there. We'll zoom in on the spot where that ball landed up there in the upper deck, joining the likes of Roberto Clemente and Richie Allen and Greg Luzinski and Mike Schmidt and Nate Colbert.
Pretty good poke.
Here's the 1-1. Grounded toward third, fielded by Rowland. He's got a strong throwing arm, and he's going to have to get Andrew. He gets down that line quick. 2 down.
That ball had to have traveled over 500 feet, Pete. They conservatively estimated it, and everybody was scoffing in the press box last night at the estimate of 444.
2 gone. Eddie Perez, who also homered last night, will step in. Eddie at 257, 3 homers, 8 RBIs, doing a good job in the absence of Javi Lopez. Lopez about ready to come back, probably tomorrow night in New York. Perez would be starting this game anyway, since he always catches Greg Maddux. Here's the 1-0. 2-0.
Stevenson's a lot like Greg Maddux. He doesn't like to mess around and gets the ball back from the catcher and lets it go.
He was on the disabled list, but wasn't any arm problems. He had problems with his left knee. Here's the 2-0 pitch, and that's downstairs. 3-0.
His pitching coach, Galen Cisco, used to be the pitching coach in Toronto, and I don't know if this is consistent with one of Galen's philosophies, but when you watch him take his signal, he's on the first base side of the pitching river. Picture Todd Stottlemyre. Todd Stottlemyre takes that same stance out there, first base side, hands at his side, and he came up in the Toronto system as well.
3-2 on Perez. There's Galen Cisco.
The other night, Mark Leiter, the same thing.
Full count, 3-2 on Eddie Perez. And there you see where he sets up on the rubber, right over near that edge on the first base side. Here's the payoff pitch now to Perez. Sharply hit down the left field line. Fair ball headed toward the corner. Jeffries will chase it down as Perez heads for second, and he'll go in with a stand-up double. Second hit allowed by Stevenson. And it'll bring up Mark Lemke.
If you give up hits with 2 outs, though, it puts some pressure on the other team to have to come through with a base hit to get a run home. And this was smoked down into the corner. Eddie's playing so well, Pete. It's going to be a tough decision for Bobby Cox to make whether or not he just catches Eddie on days Maddox pitches the rest of the season. It's going to be hotter during the summer. Maybe he'll get a few extra starts.
Now Mark Lemke, who's trying to snap an 0 for 11. Hitting .222 for the year. One ball, no strike. You saw that shot of Javi Lopez seated alongside Alan Embry out in the Braves bullpen. Some bullpens and some ballparks give you a pretty good view of the game. Not here.
No, and it's going to be very hot out there today behind that plexiglass.
Up the middle, base hit center field. Lemke's going to get the run in as Perez comes around to score. And the Braves have tied it up in a pair of 2-out hits. Here in the top half of the second, it's 1-1. Lemke driving in his 14th run of the year.
There's some clutch hitting to get Maddox back even. A high fastball, and Limmer just leveled off on it. His 14th RBI, and it gets Maddox to the plate and out of the way.
Maddox just 1 for 30 on the year as a hitter. Normally he's a better hitter than that. He only has the 1 hit this year. It was a double. He has driven in 2 runs. Deep in the box, isn't he?
I think he's trying to take every advantage he can.
Fouls away the first one, the count 0-1.
Remember the old pitching toes that pitchers used to wear that screwed into the bottom of their shoe, and then they were held on the top of the shoe by working them into the shoelaces? Now it's just a nice extra layer of leather that covers not only the sole but the toe of the shoe as well.
Popped him up, foul territory, third base side. Scott Rowland looking up there. I don't think he quite found that ball. Didn't matter. It was about 6 or 7 rows back, but he had trouble locating that one. It's going to be a little difficult today. It's kind of a partly cloudy sky.
Not cloudy enough if you're standing out there on that turf.
1 ball, 2 strikes. 2-2. Here's the 2-2 on the way, and it misses outside. Full count on the Braves pitcher, Greg Maddux. Top of the order, Jeff Blauser on deck.
Walks were a problem last night for the Phillies. They walked 8, and 4 of them scored.
There goes Lemke on the 3-2, and Maddux will sit down after becoming the 3rd strikeout victim of Garrett Stevenson. That's out number 3. Braves tie it up on a Mark Lemke base hit.
Time for the Ream leaderboard as we go to the bottom of the 2nd inning. Today's topic are fewest walks per 9 innings in the National League, and Greg Maddux at the top of the list. We'll see Rick Reed of the Mets tomorrow night at Chase Stadium, and Denny Nagel also in there in 4th place.
Rico Brogna, Greg Jeffries, and Mark Parent do up here in the bottom half of the 2nd, tied at 1. Rico Brogna 253, 8 homers and 34 runs driven in. Fouls away the first one, 0-1.
First pitch swinging. The eye black on his right eye covering up a pretty good mouse on that foul ball on Friday night.
Here's the 0-1, grounded down the left field line. Fair ball headed toward the corner. It's going to hit that point. Klesko is going to have to come in on the ball now. Bronya will have an easy double. Hit number 2 off Maddox, a leadoff double, the same thing that happened to start the first inning.
When Bronya hit that ball, he didn't run right away. It was almost like he thought he had just kind of sliced it foul like he did the first pitch he swung at. Then he took off. I guess he thought that it was going to slice foul, and then it was heads down and take off.
Now Greg Jefferies. Let's see how the Phillies play this one. Jefferies has been a hot hitter, so it's maybe not as likely as was Mickey Morandini in the first inning that he'll be bunting. We'll see, though. Chipper Jones playing about even with the bag at third. Well, he is bunting. Gets the bunt down, but foul. Jefferies 265 for the year, 4 homers, 24 RBIs, but he's raised his average about 40 points in the last couple of weeks. Phillies are playing this one like every run you can get against Greg Maddux. Take it if you can get it. Hit up the middle by Jefferies. That's going to get through. Base hit center field. Rico Bronya rounding third, heading home. Andrew Jones throw cut off by McGriff. Phillies lead it 2-1. Jefferies, a .355 lifetime hitter against Greg Maddux, drives in his 25th run. 2-1 Phillies.
2 leadoff doubles for the Phils, and some good hitting following that. And another pitch high. Greg's having a hard time getting the ball down. That pitch might have even been a ball, but it was upstairs. And you know that Jefferies was only thinking about trying to pull the ball, and he did a little bit, but it was in the hole right side of second base.
Now the catcher Mark Parent hitting just .138 for the year. He's driven in 3 runs. Better location on that pitch. A strike at the outside corner at the knees. 0-1. Here's the 0-1 on the way, and it's outside. 1 ball, 1 strike.
This game is a constant series of adjustments. Punch, counter punch. Hitters right now are making the adjustments on Maddux, Pete. We've seen it happen here more times than not lately, where they have gone up, they've moved up in the box, they're chasing the first pitch, and they're trying to hit him to the opposite field.
There goes Jefferies. Pitch hit to the right side. Lemke's only play will be on to first in time. Jefferies, who was running on the pitch, advances to second. And that'll bring up Kevin Stocker.
So that means, I think, that Greg Maddux has got to make some adjustments. He's got to realize what the hitters are trying to do to him and counteract that. He is such a strong student of the game, it won't take him long to figure that out.
Stocker's had a good series, 5 hits and 8 trips. First pitch swinging again. Fly ball left. Ryan Klesko there for the catch. 2 down. And that'll bring up the pitcher Garrett Stevenson, who is 1 for 8 with 6 strikeouts in those 8 at bats. Two men out. Jefferies down at second. Phillies up by a run. They're trying to snap a 7-game losing streak. It's their longest losing streak of the year. Ball 1 to Stevenson.
That run in the first inning, just the 2nd earned run allowed in the first inning by Maddux this season. And now the Phillies have added another one here in the 2nd.
Out of play, off to the right. Count even on Stevenson. 1 ball, 1 strike. They've had some streaks this year on the losing side, haven't they? A 4-game streak early in the year, then a 5-game streak a little later, a 6-game streak at the end of May, early June. Now a 7-game losing streak.
12-21 at home and 23 games behind Atlanta. But I think Terry Francona is playing this smart, going for every run he can get against Maddox, especially early in the ball game.
Here's the 1-1. 2-1.
Tom Glavine told us after the game Monday night, Pete, that this was a great mound to throw off of. The backstop is close to home plate, so it gives you the impression that you're really right on top of the hitter. And I wonder if the pitchers have a little bit of an adjustment to make early in the game.
Fair ball down the right line. Greg Jeffries is going to score. Heading for second is Stevenson. It's 3-1 Phillies. Garrett Stevenson with his first major league RBI. That ball just did stay fair inside the right field line.
And almost a great play by Michael Tucker. He was playing him shallow. Another high fastball, by the way. But watch Tucker. He was ready to play this ball off the point and try to get Jeffries. But the ball came off too sharply for him. Had too much speed on it. And probably a little spin as well. And he couldn't handle it cleanly. But a great try by Michael nonetheless.
That's the fourth Philadelphia hit. They lead it now 3-1. Back to the top of the order, Ricky Otero, who doubled in the first inning. He takes a strike in the outside corner.
Change up on the first pitch there.
The 0-1 on the way. Right back to Maddox. He throws out Otero. But 2 Philadelphia runs score in the second. We go to the third with the Phillies leading it 3-1.
Five games underway on the Office Depot scoreboard as we go to the third inning. Florida, Montreal, no score. That's Brown against Hermanson. Pittsburgh and New York, 1-0 Mets on a home run by Todd Hundley. Over in the American League, Baltimore and Toronto are tied at 2. Boston trailing Detroit 1-0. Sandy Alomar Jr. has singled in the second inning, extends his hitting streak to a career-high 21 games, and Cleveland leads in that one. And one other note, Cincinnati today placed Pete Shurik on the disabled list, and guess who they called up? Brett Boone.
That didn't last long, did it?
So what do you do now with the Boone brothers, who both are playing second base?
I don't know.
You got Aaron and Brett.
See, Aaron got tossed out of his first game. Did you
How about
see that?
Yeah.
Major league debut, got in an argument with Gary Darling.
Threw his helmet.
And was out of there in the 6th inning. We go to the top of the third. Jeff Blauser, a strikeout victim in the first inning against Garrett Stevenson. Takes ball 1. (2-0) the count on Blauser.
One thing about a day like today when you're at the plate off this turf.
Deep to left field by Jeff Blauser. Jeffrey's going to watch this one go out of here. Home run number 9 of the year for Blauser. And it's now 3-2.
Well, this is a continuation of last night's game, isn't it?
Starting to look that way, isn't it?
Back and forth. Last night the Braves kept regaining the lead. Today the Braves are putting some pressure trying to come from behind. This ball jumped out of here. Fastball at the belt. And I was just about to say that as a hitter, you're up there on a day like today, that sun glares off the turf and you're in constant squint mode. But apparently Blauser saw that one just fine.
Just enough clouds today every now and then to block out the sun, which is giving the players some relief from the muggy temperatures today. Michael Tucker takes outside. Tucker struck out his first time up. One ball, one strike. Fastball strike outside corner, 1-2. Still a ball and 2 strikes on Tucker.
Some other guys that have it tough today are the 3 base umpires. They don't get a break. They're out there for the duration.
Yeah, Joe West, the plate umpire, already has been going back into the tunnel behind home plate between innings to cool off. But you're right. You're standing out there at first, second, or third. You're out there.
Yeah, and you want to find some dirt to stand on after a while.
2-2, the count on Tucker. Still 2-2. Up and in on Michael. Full count 3-2. Chipper Jones waiting on deck. See if it stays in play for Mark Parent back near the screen. Nope, it's about 4 rows back. Mark Parent, well-traveled catcher.
He fits in nicely with their pitching staff too. About 6'5".
He's caught with San Diego, Texas, Baltimore, the Cubs, the Pirates, back to the Cubs again, over to Detroit, back to Baltimore, now with the Phillies. Still 3 balls, 2 strikes.
6'5", 245. You see their pitching staff and Mark Parent walking in, you would swear it was the Philadelphia Eagles.
Down to first with a walk goes Tucker. That's the first issued by Garrett Stevenson.
He hasn't walked many. That's a credit to him since he's been called up. That's only the 9th walk in 36 innings.
Chipper Jones, a base hit his first time up. Got his average back up to 288 now for the year.
By contrast to Stevenson, Maddox has thrown a lot of first pitch strikes, but Stevenson's the guy with the lead, 3-2.
Gets away briefly from Parent, and that's long enough for Michael Tucker. But he's a good base runner.
Excellent.
He didn't have much of a chance or much of a time to make a decision there. He had to make up his mind instantly whether or not he could make it, as the ball did not get that far away from Parent.
Well, the key is that he was ready to go. He was bouncing off the bag at first, used the crossover step, and already had at least about 6 feet out on the turf. So when he did break, he was ready to go.
That'll be a wild pitch charge to Stevenson. Tucker down at second now. Still nobody out. A ball, no strikes on Chipper. High in the air, deep right field. Dalton back to the warning track, back to the wall. It is gone. And Chipper Jones, with his 10th homer of the year, has given the Braves the lead back. It's 4-3 Atlanta. Ten home runs, 52 RBIs for Chipper Jones.
I'm not sure anybody else in the ballpark knew it was going out, but Chipper did. This one felt good. Couldn't tell if it was a fastball. Looked like one. And he golfed it and was pretty sure it was getting out of here. And once Dalton got to the wall, then everyone else knew it too.
So the Braves back up by a run, and the batter will be Fred McGriff, who grounded out to short his first time up. Up high, ball 1. And the bullpen is astir for the Philadelphia Phillies. That's Ryan Nye. 2-0. Nye was originally listed as a starter in this series. But then when Stevenson was able to come off the disabled list, they moved him out to the bullpen. One disadvantage the Phillies have today is in making room to get Stevenson off the disabled list and back onto the roster. They had to make a player move, and they sent down Eric Plattenberg. They're only left-hander in the bullpen, so there are no lefties out there today. All right-handers in the Phillies bullpen.
Terry Francona made it sound like that might be about to change too. He said at least for today we are going to be without a lefty in the bullpen.
3-1 to McGriff. Got the fastball by him. Count full. Line deep to right center field. Otero back to the wall, and this one's gone. Home run number 10 for Fred McGriff, the third home run of the inning for Atlanta, and it's 5-3.
Mercy. They've all been shots too. I was talking to Fred before the ball game about his shoulder, and he says, you know, it's not just my shoulder, my knee aches. Got other assorted aches and pains, but it's one of those things that I didn't want to come out of the lineup. I especially wanted to play in Toronto, but the rest did do him some good. And juice that one.
Galen Cisco out to the mound to try to calm down Garrett Stevenson, who has thrown 3 home run balls. One to Blauser, one to Chipper Jones, one to Fred McGriff. And now the batter will be Ryan Klesko, who has grounded out to first, his only time up.
Stevenson had allowed 3 homers in 33 innings coming into the game today. He's allowed 3 this inning.
Major league record for most home runs in one inning by a team is 5. High in the air by Klesko, left field, but not quite enough carry to this one. Greg Jeffries on the warning track. And just a couple of steps shy of the wall, he puts it away. 1 down. That almost got out of here.
Third time this year the Braves have gone back-to-back, Pete. They did it back in April against the Padres, Lopez and Lemke, and Hobby was involved again May 10th with Klesko.
Now Andrew Jones, who grounded out to third his first time up. One ball, no strikes. 5 runs, 6 hits for Atlanta, 3 runs, 4 hits for the Phillies. Deep short, Stalker on to first, dug out of there by Bronya. 2 down. Good play by Stalker, good play by Bronya. And 2 are out now for Eddie Perez, who doubled his first time up.
Stevenson got away with one there too, Pete. He's high with his pitches.
Four runs in here in the top of the third. Ball 1 to Perez. Two and 0 the count. Perez, the 7th man to bat in the inning for Atlanta.
We've told you about the Phillies pitching woes during this series. They are not last in the league in allowing home runs. They've now allowed 73. 2 teams have allowed 80.
Second walk issued by Stevenson.
And you would expect Colorado to be one of those teams. The other one, San Diego Padres.
Well, back in 1992, the Atlanta Braves record for home runs in an inning is 4. Terry Francona on his way out. Looks like it's going to be the end of the day for Garrett Stevenson. And the 4th guy to hit one in that 4 home run inning was Mark Lemke. He's coming to the plate now. He followed David Justice, Brian Hunter, and Ron Gant. That was against Houston back in '92. And Garrett Stevenson, the one bright spot on the Phillies pitching staff among their youngsters to this point, has an early exit today. He leaves the game. Ryan Nye coming on as Terry Francona makes the Bell South call to the bullpen. Well, a short afternoon for that man, Garrett Stevenson. He is replaced now by right-hander Ryan Nye. Nye will be making his 4th appearance. He's 0-2 with a .540 earned run average.
Started the year in AAA, went 2-4 for Scranton, a 4.89 ERA. Had 45 strikeouts in 57 innings, but also had walked 20. You see his major league numbers. 3 appearances, 2 of them starts.
He's out of Texas Tech University, native of Cameron, Oklahoma.
Is he?
Remember Kevin Lohman, who pitched briefly with the Braves? That's his cousin.
No kidding.
He will be celebrating a 24th birthday on Tuesday. Lemke fouls it back 0-1. Phillies' second-round draft pick back in the 1994 draft. In the left center field off the bat of Lemke. That's going to drop in for a base hit. Jeffries plays it on the high hop. And the Braves will bat around here in the first inning as Greg Maddux will step in.
Some good signs from Mark Lemke today. 2 hits and a good swing on this pitch. Looked like a breaking ball, but he kept his hands back. He took his stride. The body was trying to stay back and did just enough. The hand stayed back long enough to hit that to the opposite field. Good swing.
Maddux struck out his first time. Lemke at first, Perez at second. 2 men out. Just looking at some of the information on Ryan Nye. Talk about a kid having a great high school career. His high school team during his years at Cameron High School in Oklahoma won 84 consecutive games and 3 state titles.
It's a small town too. They probably had some pretty good athletes, all around athletes on that team.
1 ball, 1 strike. I know what that feels like. That's a fair ball down the left field line off the bat of Maddux. Perez around third. He will score. Heading for third, Mark Lemke. He's going to round third and come on in. 2-run double for Greg Maddux. And the Braves have struck for 6 here in the top half of the 3rd inning and now lead at 7-3. And how about Greg Maddux? Only his 2nd hit of the year, but he now has 4 RBIs.
His other hit was a double. He likes to space them out, though. You know, he likes to spread them out, make them count, and this one does. Right down the line. Blauser gets to bat for the 2nd time in the inning, thinking hit another homer.
His home run led off the top of the 3rd for Atlanta. He's also struck out 1 for 2. Braves now with a 7-3 lead.
Has any Brave ever hit 2 homers in an inning, Phil?
Dale Murphy. Called strike to Blauser.
Murph did it.
Murph did it. Against the Giants. One ball, 1 strike on Blauser.
Blauser's had some good games here in his career. Didn't he have a 7 RBI night here last year?
It's this ball high and deep to left center field. Otero on the run, can't catch up with it off the wall. Otero is hurt. Maddux around third. He scores. Jeff Blauser with an RBI double to make it 8-3. And Otero just now getting back to his feet. Blauser's 2nd RBI of the day, is 36th of the year. Otero hit that wall hard.
Comes up limping. That's what surprised me, because he hit the wall so hard in the air. Jeff hit a good pitch and just missed hitting his 2nd home run of the inning.
Braves have 6 hits in this inning, 3 homers and 2 doubles and 1 single.
I'm not sure where he hurt himself, but left a little bit of a mark from his spikes in the padding out in center field, and maybe that's where they got hung up.
So Terry Francona,
remember,
along with Jeff Cooper out there to check out Otero.
And remember what I told you about the hot turf. They've been out there a long time.
Otero's all right. He's going to be able to stay in the game. Might have jammed his foot a little bit.
Couldn't tell if he was favoring his ankle, his knee, his foot.
Appears to be okay. And Michael Tucker will be the hitter for Atlanta, the 11th man to bat in the inning. It has been a 7-run inning for the Braves. 8-3 is the score.
You're right, Dale Murphy did it, but he was almost 100 years after the last guy that did it. Robert Lowe, May 30th, 1894. You remember that?
Oh, yeah. Tucker takes a strike at the inside corner. Michael has struck out and walked. His walk came in this inning. He scored on Chipper Jones' home run. High in the air, deep right field. Dalton looking up, and the Braves have tied a record. An Atlanta Braves record. That ball hit off the facade of the upper deck. 4th home run of the inning. 10-3 Atlanta. Michael Tucker now with a 10-game hitting streak. That's his 5th homer of the year. Last time the Braves did this was 1992. We just told you about the 4 home run inning that the Braves had with Justice, Hunter, Gant, and Lemke. They also did it back in 1971. Lum, King, Aaron, and Evans all connected in the same inning.
This must just miss getting in the upper deck. It hit off a railing on the upper deck and then dropped down below.
Well, now Chipper Jones, who has a single and a 2-run homer. 9 runs in the inning for Atlanta. 10-3. Ground ball left side. Stalker backhands, throws a 2-hopper over to first, throws it by Rico Brogna. That'll be a base hit for Chipper Jones, and the assault continues. Braves breaking out in a big way in this final game of the series with the Phillies. Galen Cisco on his way to the mound. Fred McGriff will be the batter.
Fred's got a chance to tie Mr. Lowe and Mr. Murphy for 2 homers in an inning.
And the Braves just one away now from the major league record of 5 home runs in an inning. It was last done in 1966 by the Minnesota Twins. Phillies did it once back in 1949. You want to hear some great names if you're an old-time baseball fan? Del Ennis, Andy Semenick, Pudd'nhead Jones, Schoolboy Rowe, and Andy Semenick again. So they had a 2 home run inning out of Semenick and a 5 home run inning altogether back in 1949. Last National League team to do it, San Francisco Giants in '61. Cepeda, Felipe Alou, Willie Davenport, Willie Mays, and John Orsino.
How about those names?
Yeah. Well, there's McGriff. He is the 13th man to bat in the inning. It's 10-3 Atlanta. He hit his 10th home run his first time up in this inning. Ball 1.
I'd like to say, Pete, that with the hot weather, the ball's carrying better, but these balls were blasted.
Foul back. 1 ball, 1 strike. Yeah, I think they would have been out in the Arctic Circle.
Braves have been batting for 22 minutes.
Blauser a solo shot. Chipper Jones a 2-run homer. McGriff a solo shot his first time up. Then Michael Tucker with a 2-run homer. 1-2.
Okay, you got one, and you got one. I got one last night. Okay, that's 4.
Down and strikes Fred McGriff. So the Braves with their biggest inning of the year. 4 homers in the inning, tying an Atlanta record. It is 10-3 Braves as we go to the bottom of the 3rd. After a 9-run top of the 3rd for Atlanta. And Mickey Morandini leads off here in the bottom of the 3rd. He had a sacrifice bunt in the first inning. You won't see any of that now from the Phillies. They're down by 7. They need base runners and long balls.
What's Maddox lost? 1 game when he's been given 5 runs or more to work with as a Brave.
0-2 on Morandini. 1 ball, 2 strikes. The day started so promising for the Philadelphia Phillies, jumping to a 3-1 lead against Greg Maddux after 2 innings. And then the Braves exploded in the air, shallow left center field. Let's see if anybody can run this one down. Andrew Jones can. Ryan Klesko almost ran into him.
Ryan didn't know where to go. He was trying to get out of his way. He heard Andrew calling for it, but when he looked at him, he was staring right into his sunglasses. So he was trying to go left, right, and then just started ducking. Andrew can cover some ground.
Yes, he can. 1 down. Darren Dalton, the hitter. Dalton, the sac fly to left in the first inning. One ball, no strikes.
Maddux 59-1 since June of '91, when he gets 5 runs or more to work with.
That's pretty good, isn't it?
You don't fail too often, I guess, when you're 59-1 and you get a little support.
1 ball, 1 strike.
Seems to me that 1 loss was against the Rockies too. Braves got beat something like 8-7 or 9-8, something like that.
Here's the 1-1. 2-1. One man out. Little roller out toward Lemke. 2 down. And that'll bring up Scott Rowland.
I don't know if that was someone heading toward the Phillies bullpen for mop-up work.
Mop-up work. Oh. Well, whatever way she was going, she's heading back the other way now. They don't need me. She's telling her cohort. 0-1 the count, and Scott Rowland, 0-1.
Her cohort's saying, just slap me in the face with that thing, will you? If it's wet. I'm so hot sitting on this tin.
Well, Bobby Cox may get his wish today. He was talking before the game about on such a hot day on the turf, and he really thinks it's bad for players to have to play in these conditions. He said, if I can, I'd like to get some of my regulars out of there before the 9 innings are up. Give some other guys a chance instead of making my other regular players stay out there for 9 in this heat. But to do that, you've got to get a big lead, and the Braves have done that. 10-3 Atlanta at the end of 3. As we get ready to go to the 4th inning, let's give you today's Aflac trivia question. This one sounds kind of obscure, but think about it. You might come up with it. Which Philly made his debut April 25th, 1978, and he is still here with the Phillies? Think about it. We'll give you the answer in the bottom half of the inning. Right now, Ryan Nye, while warming up, has encountered some sort of problem. And Terry Francona, the trainer, out to see if Ryan's going to be able to continue, and he's not. He's going to have to come out of the game. Don't know what the problem is, but it was while he was warming up. He suddenly bent over, hands on his knees, and he's going to have to come out of the game, Joe.
Well, it's one of those things where he could have done just about anything out there on the mound. Slipped, twisted his back somehow. It looked like he was trying to stretch his back a little bit when he was bending over. And as soon as we hear something, we'll let you know. And who do we have here?
Ron Blazier coming in from the Philadelphia Phillies bullpen. He'll get as long as he needs here to get ready, as Nye has to leave after working just the 1/3 of an inning and being racked for 4 runs.
So the Phillies make a pitching change because of the injury. We'll take this opportunity to take a break. We'll be right back with you. As Ron Blazier continues to warm up, showing you some numbers just from the 3rd inning alone for Atlanta. 9 runs on 8 hits. Bobby Cox was looking at his scorecard just a second ago, Pete, I think, trying to see who made outs. He was very angry about that.
You'll notice when you see shots in the Atlanta dugout, see where Ryan Klesko is standing there. It's kind of back in the tunnel entrance back toward the Braves locker room, and it's considerably cooler there. You get a nice draft breeze coming from down that tunnel. That's going to be a very popular place to camp out when the Braves players are off the field today.
Blazier worked last night, 2/3 of an inning, gave up 3 hits and 2 runs, 1 walk, 1 strikeout, gave up the first big league home run of Tony Graffinino's career, and it was leading off the 6th inning, and that run held up as the Braves never relinquished the lead from that point, and Blazier took the loss. 8 walks in 27 innings. Tony very excited today because Mark Wohlers and Ned Yost were able to locate that baseball for him from one of the fans out in left field and get the souvenir for him. They made a swap, so Tony's got the baseball. And Dave Baker, our radio engineer, had a great idea today. He said, you know what? He said, if you talk to the TBS guys, I'm sure they'll maybe cut out that tape of your home run for you so you can always save that. And we're going to show you the home run. But Dave Baker had an even better idea. He said, what you ought to do is take this part of your swing, pow, mix in then where Andrew's ball landed in center field.
There you go.
And then go back and show Tony running the bases.
Quite a thrill. First major league home run. And he did it in front of about 22 relatives who were here.
Yeah, most of them in-laws too. So think how many marks he made last night for that. He said, I was already pretty much the big man on campus just for getting tickets for everybody.
There are a lot of relatives, players here. The Nagel family was in from Annapolis. Tony's folks here. In-laws. Leo Mazzoni's family is in town again. Joe Borowski's got a lot of family members here.
Yes, they are today. And they're trying to take advantage of a Phillies team that has been struggling.
Braves will head to New York right after the game. 3 games with the Mets. We'll have them all for you here on TBS. John Smoltz against Rick Reed tomorrow night. Chris Brock will get the start Tuesday night against Mark Clark. And then a great matchup for you on Wednesday afternoon. Tom Glavine against Bobby Jones, who right now is the winningest pitcher in the National League with 12 wins.
Yeah, that'll be a dandy. And I'm anxious to see Chris Brock work again. You know, he gave the Braves 4 pretty good innings in Colorado. And it's been a while since he's been back out there, but I'm sure he'll do well again. The Braves are hoping so. All right, well, Mr. Blazier's ready to go, and Ryan Klesko stands in 0 for 2. He is grounded out and flied out deep to left in the 3rd inning. The other 2 outs, one made by Andrew Jones on a ground out. Fred McGriff struck out to end the inning. Braves sent 13 batters to the plate. Out of play. Again, we've been talking about how big their pitching staff is, and Blazier no exception. 6'5", 248. Born in Altoona, Pennsylvania, lives now in Bellwood, PA. Brian Nye went a 1/3 of an inning, 5 hits, 4 runs. They were all earned. Did not walk a batter, struck out 1, gave up a home run to Tucker. Klesko hitting .234, 12 homers, 36 RBIs. Missed a breaking ball.
Talk about the Braves tying that team record with 4 home runs in an inning. Just 1 notch below something the Milwaukee Braves did. They had 4 consecutive home runs in 1 inning back in 1961 against the Reds. Eddie Matthews, Hank Aaron, Joe Adcock, and Frank Thomas back to back to back to back.
To the screen by Blazier, and the count 2-2. Patience is a virtue, and certainly being tested on Terry Francona. Francona last year, the 3rd base coach for the Tigers. 2-2 pitch, check swing down the line. Things are going the Braves' way today, and Klesko will have a double. Roland was playing well off the line, and Ryan has his 2nd hit of the series.
It's already the 12th hit of the day for Atlanta. And this was an excuse me swing. Trying to check a swing, and it stays fair.
Nicely done. Andrew Jones has grounded out twice.
Of the 12 hits, 4 singles, 4 doubles, 4 homers. (10-3) Atlanta.
And 1-0 to Andrew. He is 3 for 8 in the series with that home run last night and 6 RBIs. Big swing, but he came up empty. Nice to hear from Andrew in that short interview we had with him at the beginning of the broadcast about how he knew he made a mistake early in the game on that throw. He tried to make the third.
He is very, very baseball savvy for someone only 20 years old. He really knows what he should do in given situations.
He tried to throw out another runner and didn't get them, and allowed Dalton to tag and go to second, and took him out of the double play situation. 2-1. Good fastball, but it's low, and 3-1 and a good hitter's pitch. .330 down the lines here at Veterans Stadium. 371 to the gaps, 408 to center, and it has not been big enough today for Philadelphia pitchers. .31 pitch is high, walked him. A free pass issued by Blazier. And Eddie Perez will be the hitter. He has been on twice. He doubled and scored a run in the second, walked and scored a run in the third.
It gets no easier for the Phillies either. After the Braves leave town, the Florida Marlins come in for 3 games. Then the Phillies have to come to Atlanta and play 4 times. Then from Atlanta, they go to Baltimore and play the Orioles 3 times. So they have got a tough schedule for the next couple of weeks.
When you've lost 7 in a row and you're behind 10-3, and then you're staring at this schedule, it's a little spooky. 2 on, nobody out. Perez rakes one right and rolling. This might be a triple play, and it would have been if Andrew Jones hadn't been heads up to get back to first. Klesko broke on the crack of the bat. It turns out to be a double play instead.
Wouldn't that have been something? Another sharply hit ball off the bat of Eddie Perez. Roland able to catch it just before it hit the turf. Double up Klesko with Morandini taking the throw, and he was thinking about going to first, but Andrew Jones had scampered back. Otherwise, a triple play would have been the result.
Well, and Andrew might have been double up if he had thrown straight over to first. Just the fact that he went to second with the first relay allowed Andrew a little extra time. Mark Lemke's had a good afternoon already. 2 for 2 with an RBI and a run scored. Slider in there for a strike. People will be begging the Fanatic for a little spray today. Kids love him here. Oh, and 2 to Mark.
What do you call those things that the craze right now? Beanie Babies? They've got a Fanatic Beanie Baby out here in Philadelphia. I saw the other day.
Fanatic's a lot of fun to watch. I would not want to be in that costume with him today.
No.
The 0-2 to Lemke is outside. Runner at first, 2 out. Braves leading 10-3. 2-2. The Braves record for total bases in a game, 47 total bases. That was against Pittsburgh back in 1953, and the Braves already today have 28. And we're only in the 4th. Good swing, fouled back.
That might have been the game the Braves hit 8 home runs in, which is the record for the franchise.
Ryan Nye left the game with an abdominal.
Yeah, it was.
Was it?
Abdominal strain is the report on Ryan Nye, why he had to leave the game.
Hopefully it's nothing too serious. 2-2 to Lemke. The pitch laced toward left. Another hard hit ball. This one right at Jeffries, but the Braves are right on everything so far today. They come up scoreless here in the 5th, or in the 4th rather. No runs. They get a hit, strand one. We go to the bottom half of the inning, still 10-3.
Let's give you the answer to today's Aflac trivia question. Which Philly made his debut April 25th, 1978? Well, you're looking at him, the Philly Fanatic. According to the Phillies media guide, 7 feet tall, 300 pounds, from the Galapagos Islands. White eyeballs, black pupils, purple eyelashes, blue eyebrows, and bright green fur.
And quite funny. For the Phillies in the bottom of the 4th inning, Bronya, Jeffries, and Parent. Ten to 3. Maddox on top. Braves, if you just joined us, had a 9-run 3rd inning. 3-0 to Bronya, who doubled down the 3rd base line his first time up and scored a run. Three balls, 1 strike. Maddox has not walked a batter today. That means no walks in his last 16 innings. But he's given up some hits, and that was roped to center. Bronya 2 for 2 and 6 for 18 lifetime against Maddox. I was talking to Fred McGriff about this Phillies team, Pete, before the game, about last night's game, how they kept coming back, and he said it seems like teams always get up for the first place team. We talked about that earlier, but you see, they've got some pretty good veteran players on this ball club too.
Good offensive team. They've got some good offensive performers here with Morandini and Dalton and Rico Bronya, Greg Jeffries.
Jeffries singled and scored a run in the 2nd inning. Came in a .355 career hitter against Maddox. Greg is 3 for 8 in the series. Good swing, but he couldn't get it. Jeffries out of California. Came up in the Met system. Off the end of the bat, should be easy for Chipper, and is. 1 out. Mark Parent the batter. Parent grounded out to Lemke his first time. I'm still trying to figure out that assignment of Brett Boone to AAA, and he gets called back up 2 days later, and now they've got he and his brother who are supposed to share time, I guess, playing second base.
To replace a pitcher.
Yeah. Weird. Parent takes outside, ball 1. Pete Short placed on the DL by Cincinnati. That's what opened up the spot. A strike to even the count. The Reds going into play today, 5 games back in the Central. That's not too bad when you're 9 games, make it 11 games under 500.
That division will go to the team that has the hot September.
The Cubs are 16 games under 500 and 7.5 out. Two-one delivery in the air to right and deep. Tucker on the run on the track at the wall, makes the catch. Fires back to first, and Bronya able to make it safely. I thought that one was going to go.
I think Mark Parent did too. Parent thought he got enough of it to get it out over the right field wall. But it just did stay in the ballpark for Michael Tucker. Hit it a little bit off the end of the bat. If he hits that in a fatter part of the bat out there, he probably gets it over the fence.
Yeah, Maddox got a little lucky there because that was another pitch upstairs. Nice play by Michael Tucker. Didn't even need the sunglasses. Kevin Stocker flied to left his first time, but he's had a good series, 5 for 9. Nice play by a fan on the front row. The American League Central not a whole lot different than the National League Central, Pete. They've got a rat race going over there. Cleveland leads the American League Central, but Minnesota's in last place and they're only 4.5 out.
Toughest division in baseball right now. It sounds kind of strange because the Braves have been on top of the division basically all year, but it is the National League East. You've got 4 teams in the National League East now with 40 or more wins. Only 3 teams in the entire American League have won 40 or more. Only one other National League team, San Francisco, has won more than 40 games.
Should be out of the inning, and is. And Maddox gives up a leadoff single to Bronya, but nothing else. He strands the runner. We go to the 5th. 10-3 Braves. We go to the 5th. We'll run through the scores for you that are underway so far on this hot Sunday afternoon. Dustin Hermanson and Kevin Brown going at it in Montreal. Houston's been playing pretty good baseball of late. Bagwell's been tearing it up again. What's he got, 21 home runs now?
Right. He and Galarraga and Larry Walker tied at the top of the league.
Hey, check out Galarraga's RBIs. We were talking about Ken Griffey Jr. being over 70 RBIs already.
Galarraga has 79.
And leads
79 RBIs. It's June 22nd.
Greg Maddux, speaking of RBIs, drove in 2 in the 3rd inning with a double. Fouls that one back against Blazier. Greg started the day hitting .033, so look what he's already done. He's put almost 30 points on his average. That bingo number. 0-2. A little ammonia water for Andrew Jones. They put the towels in a bucket of ice, mix in a little ammonia with it.
Heavenly.
It is a real relief. Otero, after a long run, makes the catch. 1 out. They don't load the ammonia in there, of course, but they put in there just enough to have a little bit of vapor in it to really open you up and freshen you up. Jeff Blauser, the batter, with 1 out. Struck out in the 1st inning, but since then it's been a good day. He homered in the 3rd and then doubled in a run in the 3rd as well. Had a good 3rd inning. The Braves sent 13 batters to the plate that inning and scored 9 runs. 1-0. Jeff's average back up close to 350s at 348. Five for 10 in the series. Wow, that was funny. He hit that ball right off the end of his bat, which has one of those cupped ends. Part of the bat went down the 3rd base line, but the ball went down the 1st base line.
Yeah, take a look at this. Watch. Right off the end of the bat. And splinters go flying down the 3rd base line.
Jeff had trouble picking a ball up in Toronto the other night when he took a check swing. He was trying to figure out which way the ball went, left or right. Has a new bat. 1-2. Good changeup.
Jeff went to the All-Star game in 1993, the game that was played in Baltimore. He's got a shot at going again this year, the year he's had, especially with Barry Larkin hurt. Larkin, the leading vote getter at short, but probably won't be able to play in the All-Star game, so he may be looking at the starting shortstop in the All-Star game here.
2-2. He's deserved it. He's hitting, as we mentioned, close to 350, and he's got 9 home runs now, 36 RBIs.
It's 1 more RBI, and he had all of last year, Joe.
How about that? Another base hit. Otero's got to hustle to cut it off. Blauser's going to try for 2. Here comes the throw. He made it. Another double for Jeff Blauser, and he's 3 for 4. He's climbing up the doubles total too. 2 today give him 19, and Chipper Jones has 20. That leads the team.
And you look at Jeff's numbers from last year. He had 14 doubles. He's already zoomed past that. He had 10 home runs. He's 1 home run shy of that. He had 35 RBIs last year. He's got 36 this year. So he's making everybody forget about that offseason last year with all those injuries held him back.
I got news for him, though. He does not need that turtleneck today. Michael Tucker has struck out, walked, and homered. He hit a home run in the 3rd inning that hit the facing of the upper deck down the right field line. It was a 2-run shot and his 5th homer of the year. He went around, says Joe West. 1-1 the count. Bobby Cox is going to have some tough decisions to make, and as a manager always has to make for the All-Star game, but he's going to have some tough choices to make among his own team.
Yep.
Over but low, and the count 2-1.
And he doesn't look forward to it because it's a
no win
effort that you cannot ever succeed 100% at. You're always going to have some players who feel they should go who don't.
2-1 pitch is low. 3-1. Chipper Jones on deck.
One of the guys who was most upset last year with not being chosen to play in the All-Star game is now a Brave, Denny Nagel. Remember the year he was having with the Pirates, and they had to pick somebody from Pittsburgh, and they took Jason Kendall because they were a little shy on the catching side. So Nagel was left off, but he's got a good shot at going this year.
Yes, he does. He'll have a chance to pick up his first ever win against the Phillies when Atlanta goes home. Oh, roped into right center field. That'll score Blauser, and that'll be extra bases for Tucker. Watch him go. He might try for 3. Nope, he's going to stop at second. And a wise decision. Gosh, I like to watch him run the bases. He can cut the corners, hitting the bag and making turns better than anybody on the club.
3 RBIs on the day now for Tucker, 36 on the year, and yet another double for Atlanta as the Braves go up 11-3. And there's that cut you were talking about as he heads to second. Braves now with 14 hits, 6 doubles, and 4 homers included.
Adding up the total base list higher and higher. Chipper Jones singled in the 1st, homered in the 3rd, singled in the 3rd as well. Off the end of the bat, down the 3rd base line, and another one well placed off the glove of Rowland. Another double. And another run home for Atlanta.
Well, this is one of those days that just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the Braves hit the ball hard or if they hit it off the end of the bat. It's one of those days when everything is falling in. This ball was not hit hard. Actually wasn't even a strike. Right off the end of the bat, little dribbler down the 3rd base line. Rowland playing off the line, couldn't get to it, and then when it kicks off his glove, it rolls a considerable distance down the left field line, enabling Chipper Jones to get around to second.
Yeah, this is one of those days where you just want to grab a bat and go up there and close your eyes and swing. Something good will happen. Chipper 4 for 4. He's got 3 RBIs to give him 53 on the year. McGriff has grounded out, homered, and struck out. How about this for Chipper? His last 17 hits. 17 hits. He has 4 homers and 7 doubles. That's pretty good. 2-0 to McGriff. 1 out in the inning. That was Maddox leading off with a fly ball. Blauser doubled, Tucker doubled, Jones, Chipper Jones doubled. Michael Tucker appears to be A-OK, wouldn't you say?
10-game hitting streak with 14 hits in his last 43 at bats.
11 extra base hits for the Braves today. That's a season high. And that 13 came in July of 1954 against Brooklyn. That might be playable for Jeffries. He's got a long run to make, though. Checks his infielders, but makes the play. Nice catch. 2 down.
I think McGriff knew where that ball went.
Yeah, it almost appeared that he thought he had fouled it back. In that game at Brooklyn back in 1954, the Braves had 6 doubles and 7 homers. Ryan Klesko doubled his last time up. He's 1 for 3. A check swing double last inning. Blazer's out there to give them a little rest in the bullpen and take one for the team. He's going to give up some runs today, perhaps, as he already has, 2 this inning. But he's got to give Terry Francona some innings, with Nye having to come out early. 1-0 pitch fought off into.
Started out looking like a shaky day for Greg Maddux, has also all of a sudden turned into unfortunately a typical day for the Phillies.
And the Braves make a change. Rafael Belliard is in to play shortstop. And we go to the bottom of the 5th. Sefcik is going to hit for Blazier here. And another right-hander in their bullpen. They're out of lefties. Sefcik skies one down the right side. Tucker comes over, and it's a fair ball bouncing around into the stands, and it'll be a ground rule double. So Sefcik, the pinch hitter, doubles to right.
Pretty good pitch. Inside out swing. Maddux had that one off the plate. Tucker was playing him a little bit more to pull. That's right on the chalk. A good start for the Phillies, but when you're down by 9, you need a lot more than just a good start.
Otero, the batter, and a ground ball to McGriff. Maddux gets off the mound in great shape. Runner to third with 1 out. So Otero down in a hurry. He's 1 for 3, and Mickey Morandini is the batter. Morandini has sacrificed and flied to center. The infield is, as you might expect, back, willing to concede a run for an out. Reggie Harris will be their next pitcher, a right-hander we saw here the other evening. There's a drive to deep right field. The ballpark's not going to hold that one either. First of the year for Morandini. And it's 12-5.
The ball is jumping here. I think this ballpark does not get enough credit for being as good a hitter's park as it is on hot days. It has been almost a year since Morandini got one. He's looking for a strike. He gets a strike and probably got a little more than he bargained for.
Darren Dalton is the batter. Not much doubt about that one. Well stroked. Low and inside, 1 ball, no strikes. .5 is our score in the 5th. Braves have a 9-run inning in the game. And the Braves bullpen gets busy. Brad Cloutz is in the bullpen. .3-0 the count. There's a strike right in here. The 1997 Braves Wives have produced volume 3 of their popular cookbook, From Home Plate to Home Cooking. It's available June 25th for $15 plus $4.50 shipping and handling. Features favorite family recipes from players, coaches, front office personnel, broadcasters. Those books may be purchased at the Braves Clubhouse store at CNN Center and North Point Mall, or call the Braves merchandise department Monday through Friday during business hours. That takes care of Dalton. 2 down. And that number is 1-800-433-BRAVES. And the most important part of this whole announcement is the proceeds from the cookbook benefit the Georgia Center for Children. And in case you wondered, Don came up with, and Mary came up with, cornbread tamale pie, which is misspelled here, but we're not going to hold any grudges. Joe and Kathy Eastern marinated leg of lamb, baked spinach with cheese. Pete and Elaine hot fudge sundae cake, and Paula Christmas pumpkin pie and fresh fruit pie.
Is that Christmas pumpkin pie good any other time of the year?
It's good at Thanksgiving.
Oh.
I don't know why they call it Christmas, but I just lived there. 2 balls and a strike. High pop out of play down the left side. It's 2-2. 12-5 our score.
You get a day like this, you get a game like this, it's a little bit out of hand. You see a lot of hitters going up there trying to play home run derby, especially with a guy who's going to throw strikes.
It's a beautiful baseball day in Philadelphia. The pitch. Look out. Did it hit him? I think it did. Yeah, it got him. Roland's okay. He'll head down to first base. The crowd boos, but he's not throwing at him on a 2-2 pitch, I guarantee you.
And with a 12-5 lead, you just want to throw strikes and get the game over with. Maddox trying to run it in. Maddox is not a headhunter. You see where Perez wants it. He wants it down and in. But that was hunting all the way. Listen to the sound.
It got him a better shot than I thought it did. It looked like it just grazed him. Live. Now, what's Joe West upset about?
He thinks that I believe that they may be yelling and arguing. Was he throwing at him?
And surely they wouldn't think that.
I don't think so. That's the only possible thing it could be. It's a 12-5 ball game. There have been no hostilities. And Roland doesn't have a homer.
And he's flied to center and struck out, so why would he be mad at him? That's ridiculous. Here's Bronya out in front of a change, 0-1. Boy, this would be a good day for some cornbread tamale pie, wouldn't it? No. A little too hot.
If you get enough Tabasco on it, it'd be good.
0-2 the count. Yeah, if you got something to wash it down with, you're okay. Anyway, that number again. 1-800-433-BRAVES. Missed down and away. That doesn't tell you how to phone them from Atlanta. But I would try 522-7630 and ask for merchandising. The pitch. Swung, fly ball pretty well hit to left field. Klusko backing up, but he's got room. And the inning is over. 2-run score on 2 hits. There was 1 left. At the end of 5, your score: Atlanta 12, Philadelphia 5.
Montgomery. It's a little bit more complicated than that. Maddox has given up a few runs, but he hasn't walked anybody. Stevenson got off to a good start, but he got hammered by the Braves in the third inning. Morandini a 2-run homer. Blauser, Jones, McGriff, and Tucker, all of them homered, tying a Braves record in the fourth inning. 12-5 the score as we head to the sixth inning. A lot of changes, Skip.
Yeah, Sefcik stays in the game to play second base. Morandini's out. Derek May checks in to play right field, and Reggie Harris becomes the third pitcher of the or the fourth pitcher of the afternoon. Blazier went 2 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, and a walk. So Harris completes his warm-up toss. 12-5 is our score. Andrew Jones leads it off. He's 0 for 2. Kevin Sefcik at second base, Derek May in right field, Reggie Harris the pitcher. Paul Bird up in the Atlanta bullpen. That may be it for Maddox, who needed the runs today. He did not have his best stuff. Harris goes to work. Up and into Andrew. 1 ball, no strikes. And no, he wasn't throwing at him either, it didn't appear. We don't need any of that stuff today. He threw at him there, and there's the warning, and he's out of the game.
Yep.
Harris just walks off the field. That pretty well indicates that he's acting under orders. He knew exactly what was going to happen. Now he's copping a plea. Andrew Jones is hit by a pitch. I still don't understand. I mean, yeah, he got hit in the head, and that's too bad. But how can anybody possibly think he was thrown at him? He had no reason to.
And probably had the Phillies not protested and yelled, this may not have taken place. But once they yelled at Joe West and alerted that they were upset about it, anything that happens after that, Joe West has to think they're getting even. If nothing had been said, maybe they could have gotten even.
You see, Andrews, all right, he's bemused by the whole thing.
And Mark Parent did a good job there of ushering him down to first. That's a pretty good barrier. But see, I see Joe West's side of this. Remember, they jumped him when Rolen got hit. If you don't jump him from the Phillies dugout, I don't think we have a problem right here, even with 2 inside pitches.
Well, he was inside with the first one, and the second one got him. That sort of makes you wonder.
Yeah.
In any event, Harris is gone. That was a short stay. And now for the second time, they can take as much time as they like to get a pitcher ready. Francona's still copping a plea. Got him right in the stomach area, but not a clean shot.
Well, it's mounting frustrations. It's been that kind of year for the Phillies.
And folks, if we thought that Maddox was thrown at him, we'd say so. But I know in my heart he wasn't, and because he's too intelligent in that spot. Why?
Then there was no reason. There were no animosities. Rolen hadn't done anything.
Of course, Morandini had hit a home run.
But so what?
Yeah, and he struck out Dalton, so why would he throw at Rolen? It's hard to figure. We'll be back to see who the Phillies bring in. They haven't made a move with anybody yet. Francona's been too busy arguing with the umpire. Back after this. On the pitch, he too worked here the other evening. Went a third of an inning, allowed a hit and a walk, but no runs. Gomes, a #1 draft choice a few years back. I'll tell you, the other thing that tipped that off, Don, was Harris just he later stopped and sort of half-heartedly argued, but as soon as he threw the pitch, he started walking toward the dugout. He knew he was going.
Yeah.
Gomes last year was at Reading, 0-4 of 4.48. He's out of Old Dominion University. Was first team All-Colonial Athletic Association.
It's a good basketball school.
Yes. In '92 was named by Baseball America as top pitching prospect from the Cape Cod League. That's a highly scouted semi-pro league up in the New England area. And he's on to pitch here to Eddie Perez. So Harris, no innings pitched, no hits, no walks, no strikeouts, one-hit batsman. And that run is, of course, his responsibility. You know what I've noticed about this afternoon? It's not getting any cooler, is it?
No, it's not.
Day progressing. It's a beautiful day for baseball in Philadelphia.
Good day to bale hay.
Jeff Blauser has headed back to the clubhouse. I'm sure he told us he was going to pretend that it was so cold he was wearing a parka today. Well, it worked for him. He had 3 extra base hits and 4 at-bats, drove in 2 runs, scored 3. Gomes can take as long as he likes here, but he's about ready to go, I think.
I know Jeff Porter is a very talented guy, but I believe as hard as he can try, he is not going to be able to separate that weighted bet. Yes, he is. Sorry, Jeff.
And we're ready to go. Eddie Perez today has doubled and scored, walked and scored, and lined into a double play.
And he came out to help Mark Parent escort Andrew down to first, the peacemaker.
Time is called as Sefcik gets some field glasses from Stocker. Boy, he's a versatile player, that Stocker. Part-time equipment man. Runner at first, nobody out. Fastball high, 1 ball, no strikes. And I hope now that when the Braves go back to the field, they just play baseball. It's too hot for all that other stuff today. High chopper, long throw, good play. Boy, Roland made a fine play there. Runner gets to second. He had a catcher running. That's the only way he got it out, but he handled it very well.
He's a youngster they have to hitch their future to. Once you backpedal, you better plant and get a lot on it. And the thing that was fortunate for Roland was he had a catcher running, but he played that perfectly. A very talented youngster in the heart of the future of the Phillies.
Keith Lockhart is on deck for Atlanta. He'll pinch hit for Maddox, who went 5 innings today and gave up 5 runs, which is very un-Maddox-like. But he's still got a 7-run lead. High and away, 1 ball, no strikes. Some of the other baseball moving right along. We'll keep you up to date on that shortly on the Delta scoreboard, but we will tell you that after 6½, Florida and Montreal are scoreless. Chopper up the middle, runner to third. Sefcik on a funny hop. Did he keep his foot on the bag? Just barely. 2 down. And here's Lockhart. So Maddox is through for the day, and it looks like Paul Byrd will come on to pitch for Atlanta. Keith hitting .231, 2 homers, 15 runs driven in, as you see. We'll be with you tomorrow night at 7:35 and same time on Tuesday from New York, and Wednesday at 1:35. Strike called over the inside corner. Wednesday, a terrific pitching matchup. Tom Glavine and Bobby Jones.
Boy, Bobby Jones has moved to the top.
He sure has.
Best in the league.
That's up and in. Now every time a pitch misses inside, the umpire begins to wonder. Line hard but foul. That's the way you answer a pitch up and in. A solid line drive. The trouble with the knockdown rules, and I don't know the solution to this problem, but you're asking the umpire in effect to play God. He's supposed to figure out what somebody else is thinking, and that's a little bit unfair to the umpire. No one is equipped to do that.
But I think Joe West read this well.
Should end the inning. Stocker up and throwing, and the inning comes to a close. No hits, no runs, no errors, 1 left. The new pitcher for Atlanta, we think it'll be Paul Byrd. We'll find out when we come back. Parent will be 36 in September.
What do they list him at? He's a big one.
6'5", 245. And he is not a single parent. He has 2 children. His wife's name is Wendy. I met her. She's a lovely girl. There's a shot ricocheting around, and it'll be a single for Stocker.
Give Larry Vanover an assist. That probably would have been a double. This is one of those coming right at you if you're an umpire where you can't decide which way to go. Do I go left, right, or take one off the shin?
Now all the other umpires are trying very hard not to laugh. And here's Kevin Sefcik.
Joe West is the only guy who can, and he was.
The pitch. That's not the umpire's fault. There's just nothing you can do. Sort of like a deer in the headlights. You freeze. That will reach the seats. Sefcik doubled and scored his first time. That was in the 5th. Made him look bad with a breaking ball. 1-2 the count. Paul Byrd out of LSU. We've been very fortunate in this series that we've missed Curt Schilling. Grounded toward third. Chipper has it. Long throw to make. Close. Got him. Inning over. So Sefcik is retired. Good play by Jones. 1 hit. No runs. No errors. And 1 man left. At the end of 6 complete. Your score 12-5 Atlanta.
The rest of the rotation, it is a dismal year.
Up and into Belliard. They're scared of him. 1 ball, no strikes. Not this time. Grounder to second. Sefcik has it. 1 out. That's 1,827 at bats since his last home run. I just had a feeling this might be it. Michael Tucker, the batter.
He nasty pitched it.
Tucker has scored 3 runs. He's driven in 3. Has a double and a homer and a walk and a strikeout. A pretty good day, but a lot of guys have had good days today. Chipper Jones 4 out of 4. He waits to hit next. Gomes comes set and delivers. High drive into left field. Pretty well hit, but not far enough. Jeffries is there. And 2 men are out. Chipper Jones, the batter. Chipper singled in the first, a 2-run homer in the third, a single later in the third.
He's got to try for a triple.
Yeah, an RBI double in the 5th. He could hit for the Swinkle. Not that way. 0-1. This Gomes is a guy I guess gives them hope.
It's good stuff. Good leverage.
Misses outside that time. It's 1-1.
If you watch a lot of their pitchers, though, they have a lot of guys with mechanics. It's almost like paint by the numbers. Watch how he 1, 2, 3 and finish perfect.
1-2 the count.
Sometimes when you're learning the pitch, you get so caught up in mechanics that the result might suffer. But here's a guy with enough of a foundation to be a good pitcher.
Hit foul to the left. And the fans battle for the souvenir.
It's been almost 10 years.
Hit hard, but right at Sefcik, and a very easy inning for Gomes. 1, 2, 3. That hasn't happened often today. In fact, that's the first time all afternoon. We go to the bottom of the 7th. Braves on top by 7. We go to the bottom half of the 7th inning. Ricky Otero 1 for 3 leads it off against Paul Byrd and takes high. 1 ball, no strikes. Mark Wohlers used only 10 pitches to pitch an inning and a third yesterday, so if trouble breaks out, he's available. But it'll take a lot of trouble down with the Phillies down 7. 2 balls, no strikes, clouding up a little bit here. Thunder showers are in the forecast. The pitch. There's a strike. 2-1. New York for 3. Then the Phillies come in for 4, and then we go to New York and Montreal. That second trip to New York to play the Yankees into left center. Well hit. Andrew Jones scoots over there, makes it look easy. 1 out. He's one of those guys. He reminds me a little bit of Henry Aaron in that he looks like he's not hustling, but he is. He's just got that instinct that he knows exactly where to run to.
The picture that comes to mind for me was Al Kaline. And I know a lot of calls on the talk show about why doesn't he run hard? He is running hard. He's running hard with very little effort. If you watch Bo Jackson run, I mean, it's arms and elbows and kneecaps. They eat up the same amount of ground, but he just glides to the ball.
Derek May fouls one back. It's 0-1. May checked into the game an inning or so ago to play right field. His dad, Davey, used to play for the Braves. He holds.
Speaking of Heck Aaron, that's how Davey May got to the Braves.
That's a record of sorts. You can always tell his grandchildren, I was traded for Henry Aaron. He came to Atlanta when Henry went back to Milwaukee. Davey, a pretty good left-hand hitter. Not nearly as big as his son. The 1-1 swung, hot shot. Lemke to his left. Nice play. 2 out. So Bird has breezed along here in his second inning of work, and Gomes, the pitcher, is going to hit for himself. Boy, the guy I admire today is that Philly fanatic. In this heat, he is still putting on as good a show as he can put on, and the youngsters love him. Pop foul back and out of play. There he is, my man, the fanatic.
I think he's the best.
It's either he or Mr. Red. I can't make up my mind. 0-2. Gomes has a pretty good swing up there.
Mr. Red just proves that Mr. Met made road trips.
There's Fred Bird. Billy the Marlin. He's not bad. Just like that, the inning is over. 1-2-3 nothing doing. 7 innings have gone by. It's 12-5 Atlanta. To start the 8th. Mike Mordecai is going to run for Fred, and he'll stay in the game to play first base.
Mike Mordecai running for McGriff at first base.
So Fred is done for the day. 1 for 4. That a home run with a walk. Klesko is also 1 for 4. He doubled and was doubled off. The 230s are not the neighborhood you expect to find Ryan lurking in, or in which you expect to find Ryan lurking, to be grammatically correct. But he's having trouble making contact. He's 4th in the league in strikeouts.
And it's a swing like that that's been causing him problems, pulling off the outside pitches. Anything down and away in the lower right-hand quadrant of the strike zone really got no chance of getting anything on it. And they're trying to stay there.
Up and away this time. 2 balls, 1 strike. Ground ball gets by Sefcik. Mordecai stops at second. They'll give him a hit.
I bet you when we see the replay, you're going to find out that Sefcik was screened by Rico Bronya, who came a long way away. This is about the only pitch Ryan's handling lately, down and in. Watch it go by Bronya, and it looks like he screened Sefcik away from it. Skipped off his glove for a base hit.
So Andrew Jones stands in. He's 0 for 2, but he's walked and been hit by a pitch. Gomes upstairs, 1 ball, no strikes. No activity in either bullpen at the moment. He came up empty on a breaking ball. He's got a good curveball. 1-1 the count.
Right over the top, straight down.
Two on, nobody out. Gomes, the 5th pitcher tonight. They used 6 last night. Line drive, right field. That's in for a hit, and the bases will be loaded.
Mordecai couldn't score on that. He had to wait to see if it was going to hang up and carry out there, so he'll only end up moving up 90 feet.
So that's 14 pitchers in 3 games for them.
Off the plate, good piece of hitting there by Andrew, not trying to pull it, driving it to right field.
More action will begin in their bullpen. There aren't a whole lot of guys left. Jerry Spradlin begins to throw. Bases loaded. Nobody out. Low and outside. 1 ball, no strikes. Clouding up here too. We might get some rain. Gomes comes set, and the 1-0 swung, and a fly ball into left. Jeffries comes on, makes the catch, and the runners will stay right where they are. With a 12-5 lead, why risk injury or why show anybody up? So it's up to Mark Lemke here. Now Joe Borowski begins to throw for Atlanta.
Old Borowski family out of Bayonne, New Jersey, staying at the hotel, down for the weekend, enjoying the games.
Lemke stands in. You see his numbers on the day. He needed a good day. He's been struggling. Bases loaded, 1 out. Check swing, strike, going 1. 12-17-0 for Atlanta. 5-8-0 for the Phillies, who will be in town Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday afternoon. Lemke pops it down the third base side. No play. It's back in the seats.
Braves and the Phillies will be on about the same track heading down to Atlanta. The Phillies have a day game here before they come down. The Braves have a day game up in New York.
Who will race them?
Theirs is a 105. I don't think that's fair, though.
Yeah, but we got Glavine and Bobby Jones going for us. The stretch and the pitch. Fastball outside. 1-2.
Yeah, those two guys throw some strikes. Bobby Jones is fun to watch. The more I watch him, and I've seen him pitch a lot on TV this year, the more he's going to remind you of the pitching strategy of.
Uh-oh. Whoops. Morty says, I didn't know it was going to bounce back. That's not fair.
That's been one of the best defensive plays in their arsenal this weekend. Throw it all the way to the screen. Boomerang ball. Watch how quickly this comes back to Parrott. Split finger fastball. Here it comes. Parrott says, I'm a big guy. Let me just dive and wait for you.
That was apparent to Parrott, but unapparent to Lemke. Or to Mordecai.
Who is a Parrott?
Parrott is a Parrott. Lemke is not. He missed a foul tip that. So it's still 2-2. Tony Graffinino is on deck to hit next. I gave him my scorecard from last night. Show his kids and grandkids his first major league home run and how it looked in bad handwriting. High chopper. Gomes is going to take it himself. And he gets out of the jam very nicely.
Interesting inning.
Yeah, you could say that. 2 hits, no runs, no errors, 2 left. We swing on to the bottom half of the 8th inning in Philadelphia on a beautiful baseball day. And it's Jordan, Bronya, and Jeffries due here in the 8th for Philadelphia. Full count, 3-2. This may well be Bird's last inning of work. They had Borowski up before. We shall see. Paul's payoff pitch to the right-hand hitter. Corked into center field. Andrew Jones, though, on the move. He's got it. 1 down.
The competition for next year's NBA championship begins this week. It begins this week because it's the week of the NBA draft. TNT's coverage begins Tuesday at 8 o'clock with the draft preview show, followed on Wednesday at 7:30 by the draft itself. It all comes to you this week, and it comes to you on TNT.
You know what would be a neat feature of that? Got a suggestion for our powers that be. A one-on-one contest. That's foul, hit hard by Bronya. Between
Chris Berman and who?
No, not he doesn't even work for us, man.
Well, I'm trying to get him into this because he covers the other draft.
Oh. No, I was thinking more of Bob Neal against my pal Commissioner David Stern. They're both about the same size. I think that would be great entertainment. Just trying to help, fellas. 0-2 the count. Another phone call. Don't you think that would be good?
You couldn't live without those phone calls you create.
Don't you think that would be entertaining for the fans?
Let me put it this way. I wouldn't pay to see it.
You don't have to pay. That's the beauty of television.
Oh.
You'll have to forgive my partner. The 0-2 pitch. Right up the chute. Who wants it? Nobody particularly. Uh-oh. Collision. Let's see if everybody's all right. Chipper
That's
Jones
not good.
is down.
He took it right in the mouth with Mordecai's glove.
I don't know if anybody yelled or not, but we certainly didn't need that. Jeff Porter there in a hurry.
Paul Bird was getting out of the way, but if you're the pitcher on that, and somebody's got to be taking charge there. Eddie Perez was looking up, but somebody's got to direct traffic. You can't allow this to happen.
Mordecai's hurt too. It looks like Eddie Perez is tending to him.
He may, you know, we saw him hit the glove, hit Chipper Jones, but he may have also hit him in the face with his head too. Maybe the side of his head.
Yeah, Mike's hurting. That would make it even worse for Chipper. Let's look at it again.
Take a look. Here he comes. You can see him calling, but there's nobody there to direct traffic. Here comes the glove. Bam. Right upside the head. Looked like Chipper Jones's shoulder catches Mordecai, and here comes, just like getting smoked by Evander Holyfield.
I don't think they went head-to-head.
Now, I think Chipper Jones's right shoulder is what catches Mordecai.
Chipper's conscious. He was talking to Jeff Porter, so don't worry about that.
We've got to start thinking about ankles and knees, too, here.
They're working on his knee now.
Uh-oh.
I didn't even see that part of the equation. We were worried about his head.
Well, he's flinching every time Jeff Porter is pulling on it. Braves have gone through a rash of injuries lately and can ill afford another one.
You know, Chipper had the knee a couple of years ago, knocked him out for a year. Let's look at his legs this time.
Watch the left knee. He's planted.
Oh, bang.
And then Mordecai hits it full weight. And he was planted. The turf did not give. Here's a good angle there. Watch the knee collapse. And the ankle. He is hurting.
Mordecai caught the ball for the second out, but that's not the concern right now. Tony Grampanino will come in and it would appear play third base, or maybe he's warming up with Rafael Belliard. Let's see how Chipper walks when they get him up.
With great difficulty.
Not very well at all. In fact, he's not putting that baby down at all. That could be very serious as far as a baseball injury. It might not be. It might be just that they bang knees, and we're not going to speculate because we don't know.
I was trying to do some quick remembering. I'm thinking that's the one he had the surgery on a few years ago, the one that he hurt down at spring training. I believe it was the left one that hit the bag that he got hurt when he had to have the reconstructive surgery. Remember, he had the anterior cruciate ligament in spring training.
We probably won't get any word today because we're so late in the game, but if we do, of course, we'll pass it along to you. 2 down. Greg Jeffries, the batter. Suddenly the game becomes somewhat insignificant. Hit hard, but foul pass first. That's what makes this game so chancy. There's a routine play, a pop fly right up the chute. And the injury bug jumps up and bites you. If you're wondering why Jeff Porter is still watching the game or on the bench, we have sort of a Mr. Inside and Mr. Outside. Dave Pursley mans the training room, and Jeff stays out in the dugout to attend to players who are injured during the game. Grounder to first. Mordecai will take it himself, and the inning is over. A 1-2-3 inning, but not a very pleasant one for Atlanta fans. At the end of 8 innings, your score 12-5 Braves.
Have Brad Klontz come on the pitch.
You don't want to use somebody else in this situation. A whole lot of options.
Look out. Bird rips one into the seats. Looks like everybody's okay. 0-1.
It's his first at bat this year.
He hit the ball hard, but he was a little tardy. A little late on that one, too. 0-2. Nice catch by a fan. He's from Rochmont, Pennsylvania. The 0-2 Spradlin starts, now stops. 12-5 Atlanta, but Chipper Jones is hurting, and we don't know the severity of the injury. A little bit outside in his heart. Joe West wanted to call that a strike, but he didn't. 1-2 is now the count. Right away, Paul. 1 out. Spradlin fans the pitcher. Here's Rafael Belliard, who grounded to second his first time.
And who will probably swing at the first pitch.
Could be. High fly on the first pitch down the right side, but twisting into the seats. It's 0-1. Michael Tucker is next. He's 2 for 4 with 3 RBIs and 3 runs scored. Rafi has only batted once and grounded to second. That was a curveball that hung inside. Into right field, but May is there, and there are 2 out.
Even the Philly fans were yelling down below us for Rafael Belliard to hit one out.
I think most of the Philly fans might be gone. There might be only Braves fans remaining. Brad Klontz is in the Atlanta bullpen. We'll see if he comes on. I would guess he would. There's really no other reason for him to be up and throwing. Here's Tucker. He's up to 309, as you see. They're playing again in New York, and the Mets have taken a 7-6 lead. They are in the bottom of the 6th.
Still 0-0 in Montreal.
They're in the 9th inning. If the injury to Chipper keeps him out for any period of time, I guess, well, I don't know what they'd do. They could platoon Mordecai and Lockhart over there. Maybe play Graffinino at third. It's not his natural position. Let's hope that that's not the case. It didn't look too good the way he was unable to put any weight on it leaving the field, but hopefully that's just a precaution. Downstairs to Michael. 3-1. Broken bat pop into short center. Otero coming in. Stocker going out. Stocker makes a nice play, and the inning is over. Nothing doing in the ninth. We go to the bottom half with your score. Braves on top 12-5. Maybe an X-ray job before they know what. Here's the collision again.
Keep an eye on the left leg as Mordecai hits it, and that left knee just heads north. And the ankle twisted too.
Parent pops one foul and out of play to right. 0-1.
You mentioned a good outing by Bird. It does a couple of things, Skip. He gave him 3 innings with Maddox coming out at the end of 5. It meant you didn't have to eat up your bullpen. Big plus for the bullpen going up the Shea.
Strike on the outside corner, so Brad is quickly out in front with an 87-mile-an-hour fastball. That's way outside. 1-2 the count. We are in the ninth. Nobody on or out. Braves on top by 7 runs. It's 12-5. Braves had a 9-run third inning in which they hit 4 homers. Parrott out on strikes, 1 away. So Mark has an 0 for 4 collar, and here's Kevin Stocker.
Stocker's had 3 good at-bats. He only has 1 hit, but he's had some good swings against Maddox and, well, I guess both of them coming against Maddox, and then got a base hit off Bird.
The only hit he surrendered. There's a strike over the outside corner. 0-1. You have a 9-run inning, and with 4 home runs in it, you're winning by 7, and you feel lousy because of the injury. 0-2 the count. One and two the count. Clounce is ready. The left-hand hitter waits. Fouled away. A ball and 2 strikes. Two and two the count. There are no X-ray facilities here in Veterans Stadium, so if X-rays are needed, that means Chipper will be on his way to the hospital, and we of course will not know the severity of the injury, but we don't know that he's going to a hospital yet. We're hoping to find out. There's a base hit to right field. Tucker over fast, comes up with it on 2 hops, and Stocker has his 2nd hit of the day. He's getting that average right up there.
And another good at bat. Fouled away a pitch and got him a slider he could handle.
Kevin Sefcik is the batter. Since entering the game, he has doubled and scored, and he has also grounded to third, where Tony Graffinino is playing now. The stretch and the pitch. Swung, a chopper up the middle. Belliard to his left field, to second just in time. It's a fielder's choice, headed to by Sefcik. Good play by Rafi, and 2 out. And Ricky Otero is the last hope of the day for Philadelphia. The Phils will drop to 22-49, and the Braves will be 47-26. And the Braves will be 5-1 on this road trip after losing 3 at home to Baltimore. Runner at first, 2 down. Clontz comes set and delivers. A little bit outside. Joe West has done a great job behind the plate today. In fact, there hasn't been the least bit of an argument in this whole series.
It's a good crew. It's a hard-working, good crew.
You notice when the umpires are doing a good job when you realize you haven't noticed them very much.
And I think Joe West handled that little hoop-de-doo about throwing at people as well as it could have been done.
I do too. Right back up the middle. Clontz might have had it but didn't, and 2 are on with 2 out. Otero's second hit of the day, and Derek May will come to the plate.
Brad had good intentions. He had good form. He just got the apron down a little bit late.
The pitch to May. Swung and foul tipped. 0-1 the count. In case you joined us late on this Sunday afternoon, a 9-run third inning. Cut lip, sore left knee. It seems to be structurally sound.
No more tomorrow?
I guess that's all we know right now. The cut lip.
Attention media, Chipper Jones left the game with a sore left knee. Cut left in the collision. He appears to be structurally sound. Will be reevaluated.
They'll reevaluate it tomorrow. That's good news. That probably means that he's coming with us to New York
overnight in a hotel. I mean, in a hospital. Yep.
And then they'll take him. If he needs to go to a hospital, they'll do it in New York. So that's about as good a news as you could hope for in this situation. The stretch, the pitch, foul to the screen. He stays alive. It's still 1-2.
That boy.
Ruben Amaro waits on deck. He would pinch hit next. Clontz is ready, and his 1-2 offering is on the way. Low and inside. It's 2 balls, 2 strikes. May has batted once in the game. He grounded to second. The pitch. Oh, boy, just missed. Clontz thought he had him struck out. So did I. Might have bragged on those umpires a little early.
That's a late breaker.
No, it might be outside.
And I think it stayed off the plate.
The payoff pitch. The runners will be off and running. Grounded foul, pass first. Still 3-2. Mets now 9-6 over the Pirates in the 7th. Florida 2 in the 9th at Montreal. They're still batting. Cincinnati and St. Louis 2-2 in the 7th. Houston 3-0 over the Cubs again after 7. The pitch. Swung, fly ball left field. Back goes Klesko, and the ball game is over, and the Braves have themselves a sweep of the Phillies. 12-5 is the final score. 2 hits, no runs, no errors, 2 left, and totals and highlights. And our player of the game right after this.